Hey, what is going on? What is going on? What is going on? This is Mike Clark with the Keys of Knowledge team, powered by the Williams Advanced Realty team. I got a little music going on, so let me know if you guys can't hear me or not. But we're going to try to get through this thing as quickly as we can and, push out some good content for you guys. I'm going to follow an outline and kind of keep this thing together pretty quick. But I think this is necessary for anybody looking to buy their first home. All right. So we're gonna go over first time steps on buying your house, things you should think about, and some of the myths that come into owning your own property or owning your first home. Of course, there's a lot out there. What they say, misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I just want to kind of clear some things up if possible. Hopefully this resonates with somebody that's going through this process. And whether you decide you want to work with me or not, I definitely hope you gain some value from this, or if you could share this with someone who this would help. Now, what are the myths? You need 20% down. 20% down isn't always necessary, depending on what type of loan product you're trying to use. I don't want to go into too much detail when it comes to the financing portion. However, I do have some lenders that are always available to answer any questions, any concerns. But I do have a lot of one-on-one conversations with these lenders when it comes to grant programs, financing, what's some of the stories that they've heard, or what's some of their best closing stories, helping individuals get into a home that necessarily wouldn't have had the opportunity. So I like hearing that. And I'm telling you, the worst decision you can make is just not picking up the phone and just assuming that there's no opportunity for you to even get into a home. So definitely, 20% is not something that's mandatory, just something that you need to understand that you need to pick up the phone and get some more details. So again, if you need any information on that, please reach out to me and I'll get you connected with the right lender. Now, the next step, right? This is something else people think about. My credit has to be perfect. My credit has to be perfect. I have to have a 700 credit score, 730, 740. Now, again, this goes back to having the right lender that can discuss this with you. Now, it is true, like depending on your credit score, give you a better opportunity to get a better rate. But again, it's not necessary for you to move forward with a home. So it's not truly necessary at the very, very beginning. So just understand, again, you do want to have a great credit profile overall, as good as you can get it, but don't let that deter you from getting started with the process. Even if you do have bad credit for whatever reason, just understand that you can talk to someone. They'll go ahead and get a game plan set for you. So even if they deny you, and that's, I would say, in my opinion, which sets most lenders apart. It's one thing to get denied, but it's another thing to help them through the denial process and showing them exactly where they're missing the mark at, what they can do better, what needs to be changed, what doesn't need to be changed. So that's another thing. Raymond from Change Home Mortgage, that's one of the partner lenders I use. He actually has a platform just for this, just to kind of help you. I mean, I'm dealing with a client right now that he's constantly following up, as well as making sure that the goals that they need, or what they need to make sure they have a successful credit profile is planned out in a way that he understands, and as well as the clients understand. So again, don't fall short, or don't think that you can't do something just because you're assuming I have bad credit. You let the lenders let you know what's going on. I'm just being real with you. Don't take it upon yourself to this is right. You'll close yourself out to so many different opportunities overall. And I will tell you this too, man. When we think about credit, we take it to the extreme. And when I say we, us average individuals, we see people filing bankruptcy every day. We see these billionaires doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm not advocating for bad credit or bad business habits. However, we need to understand that there are not even just loopholes, but there are situations for everybody that can continue to keep you in the game and continue to help you move forward. So let's not stress too much about it. Anything can be fixed. I mean, it's not the end of the world. And again, if you have a real professional side of you, they're gonna help you the best way they can. All right. So we need to understand most people are closer than they think. You have this idea that you can't do something because my credit's bad, my finances are bad, I just got this job, or I just broke, you know, you can talk yourself out of anything, to be honest. I promise you that. But once you talk to a professional, let them have that mindset to help you out and figure out how this can work out for you, right? All right. So some of the other common myths, right? VA loans is understand VA loans huge advantage. It is extremely a huge advantage, to be honest, because remember you're not putting money down, as well as if you're 100% disabled in the state of Texas, and there's other states across the country where you're not paying property taxes. Understand that helps out a lot as well. You know, when it comes to your purchasing power. Additionally, you know, understand that you can use this platform or this VA home loan more than once. There's a lot of misinformation when it comes to the VA home loan. Again, I want to go in more detail about it. This video is simply for my first-time home buyers. But if you have any questions when it comes to the VA home loan, I would love to help you guys out. Yeah, I mean, I've used it multiple times myself, and I promise you this is a tool that if you are a veteran, if you are active duty, hell, if you're even a active, not even active, what is it, National Guard, and you qualify, this is the tool you want to be using. Now, what is some of the steps when it comes to purchasing your first home? First off, let me make sure before I move forward. Let me see. The music got a little loud, man. Before I made this video, I just want to see and hear, make sure you guys can hear me. Let's see. I know I'm streaming, so let's see if it's. Let me see. Yeah, test. Yeah, test. Okay, it's not too bad. Okay, so anyway, I want to move forward. So, what are some of the steps as a new first-time home buyer, right? What are some things you need to think about? Well, the first portion, of course, is going to be your finances. It's something that you want to take in consideration. Again, you want to kind of get an idea of where you're at financially. And I would also say, man, if you can keep your bills as low as possible, that's one of the things you got to take in consideration. Know your debt, know your credit score. Credit Karma is not going to be the best to find out what your real credit score is. Remember, you have what's called FICO scores, and those are broken down into different categories. So if you're purchasing a house, it's going to look different than when you're trying to purchase a car. So understand that you got to find your real credit score, your real FICO score, to understand what you can qualify for. You also want to have an understanding of your debt. What all is considered your debt? You know, is your phone bill considered debt? I mean, technically it is, but is it on your credit report? You know, unless you have some sort of charge off. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up to date on that. I try to do it once a month if I can, just see where I'm at. I put my FICO score. Additionally, if you say, hey Mike, I don't have the money to do X, Y, and Z. By federal law, there's a platform that you're allowed to use to kind of check this out, because the credit bureaus have to allow you to at least do this once a year. During COVID, you were able to check as many times as you want because there was a lot of stuff going on back then. But at the moment, I'm going to tell you right now, you can use what's called freeannualcreditreport.com. I go on there, man, at least once or twice a month. I print out my credit reports. I'm making sure my profile is right when it comes to my name, when it comes to my addresses, when it comes to my phone numbers, when it comes to my employer. I want to make sure that's correct. One of the reasons why is because I am the third. I'm not the first, second Michael Clark. I am the third Michael Clark. And I give a curse to my son by naming him the same. So if you're in a similar situation, that's even more of a reason why you want to make sure you're verifying all that information, because some of that stuff may spill over into your credit report. And I'm telling you, it's happened to me. It's happened to me. And man, it was not a great feeling. So just make sure you're checking all that stuff. And that is a great resource, freeannualcreditreport.com. Also, you want to budget based on comfort. Don't max yourself out. And what I mean by that is we don't want to buy too much house. So we want to understand what our budget is currently and where we can cut costs. So yeah, if we're in an apartment at the moment, if we're at a mobile home, whatever we may be in, understand that if we are going to purchase a new home, we need to understand, okay, how much can we budget for utilities? How much we budgeting for our monthly mortgage? How much we need to budget for taxes? Like we need to really fully understand the whole home buying process. And again, this is where a realtor can truly help you with this. Now, some of the things you need to save for before you even get going, before you decide, hey, I'm ready to move forward, because there are some upfront costs. Some of the upfront costs, of course, is your earnest money. Earnest money is something that is simply good faith money. So say, for example, you find a home that you really, really love. You're ready to put an offer. You're excited. You've already been pre-approved, all that good stuff. Now you want to show that seller that you mean business and you're serious. Typically, it's 1% of the purchase price. So if it's $100,000 home, you're giving up $1,000, and that's going with your contract. So you're going to go ahead and your realtor will submit your contract. If it's accepted, you have 3 days from that time to get the earnest money to the title company. So that money is up front, but we do some things to protect that money. So yeah, you may say it's a lot up front, but it'll go towards either your closing costs or towards your loan, or if you decide you're not going to finish out this transaction for whatever reason, but you're within your option period. This is the other portion of money you need to have. Option is typically about $100, somewhere near, give or take. But again, it's all negotiable. But at the end of the day, you may opt in for an option period of 7 days. You don't have to give your realtor a reason why you want to back out, but that protects your earnest money as well. So if you wake up one day and just have remorse or say, hey, I can't afford this, whatever the reason may be, you can go ahead and get that earnest money back. You will lose the option money, but that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the option to back out. Lastly, what you need to have money for is your closing costs. You need to make sure you're saving money up for your closing costs. I don't want to say lastly, because you also have your down payment as well, depending on what type of loan you have. So understand these are like 4 main pillars that you need to have money for: your earnest money, option money, closing costs, down payment, and last is your appraisal as well. And then you're also gotta understand you have another piece when it comes to inspections. Inspections are mandatory, but it's something that is highly something that realtors are going to want you to do. Like I would want you to get an inspection done on your property, whether it's a new build or a resale. It's not going to matter. It's something that you definitely want to take in consideration, because again, this is a long-term investment. This is a home that you're living in, and you want to ensure that home is sound and safe at the end of the day. So just to recap, and I know I said this is the last thing, there are little things in place. So I'm trying to go over as quickly as I can, but there are components to it at the very beginning, and throughout the contract, that you're going to have to start paying up front just to get this thing going, and just to start your transaction. So again, once you get your contract accepted, you're looking at earnest money, which is typically 1%, option money, closing costs. Well, let's separate it like this: earnest money, option money, inspection, and appraisal. Those are the 4 things that you're going to have like in the middle of the transaction, like very beginning to like the middle, right? And then once you get close to the end, now you're really looking into, you should already have this saved up, but know that you're going to have closing costs and down payment depending on what type of loan you're having. Again, this may seem a lot up front, but again, give it your lender, give it your realtor. You can make a realistic plan on what you can and can't do, and then that'll help the realtor, one, on negotiations, and 2, is going to help your lender understand your financial picture of where you need to be at, more or less, when it comes to your overall costs. Now, preparation beats pressure. I mean, I just heard this not too long ago from another client of mine. Really, really cool dude. Your mindset is way better than your preparation, because you may not need the hard work, but you need to be able to think strategically and figure out how you're going to move forward, right? Understand what pre-qualified versus pre-approved mean, right? Pre-qual, they're just taking your information as you gave it to the lender. If you tell the lender you made 100,000, you tell the lender this or that. They're just taking that at face value and they're going to get you pre-qual. But to get pre-approved is making sure that all that information has been verified and has gone through underwriting, and now you're pre-approved, and you definitely should make it through the closing table because this stuff has been already vetted. Now, the only thing that can really blow this up is if for whatever reason you change your mind, or not even change your mind, you decide to start buying stuff in between the transaction. Understand what you show, what you have on your overall financial picture. You want to kind of keep it there. You really want to keep it there. You don't want to change anything. You don't want to add anything. You don't go out and buy hard furniture. None of that. You want to make sure that, hey, what you submitted is what you can commit to for the next month and a half, right? You need to understand that underwriting really truly matters. These are individuals you're never going to meet in person, but understand they do have a job, and this is the most important component to this purchasing a home is the underwriters. They have to understand that you can repay back this loan, and that's what they're doing. They're just verifying your documents, your pay stubs, bank statements, work history, taxes. They're verifying all that information and just making sure financially you're not being, you can truly pay back this loan. Understand that. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. Now, a strong lender is always going to equal a huge advantage. I've already told you guys that I have multiple lenders that I work with, and just understanding that lenders can make or break a deal, as well as when it comes to educating you on the overall home buying process. Ask as many questions as you can. Understand that you're paying me a commission as a realtor. You're paying your lender a commission. I mean, everyone's getting a piece of the transaction. So understand it. They all work for you. It's not the other way around. You're hiring them to do a job. Make sure they're doing that job, and make sure you understand the process. Don't just go through the yes, I understand, and not truly understand your transaction. Truly understand what you have to buy, because once you close, it's all on you, and you don't want to have buyer's remorse at the end of the day. So please understand that they work for you and not the other way around. And I would never take anything to heart. I have some great clients that I work with, man, and some very demanding clients, and sometimes they do apologize, and I say, no, don't ever apologize, because this is a huge transaction, and we need to make sure that you get what you want and what you love, and that you understand the process, because that is what I believe in. I truly believe in that you need to understand this process, because this is what can make or break a deal. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to the point where I'm trying to lecture you on the process. It's just me trying to truly help you understand all the little components that you may have overlooked just because you're so excited. And I love the excitement as well, but I also want to definitely still keep that in mind and let you know that, right? I'm gonna go ahead and get that down real quick. Take this poll down. Let's see if we can take this. So anyway, so I mean that's the biggest piece right there as well, right? Just build your team early. Understand who your realtor is. Interview as many realtors as you can. 2 or 3. Same thing with the lenders. Make sure you shop around for the lenders. This is an essential component, because remember that the finances is the big piece, man. I don't have much more to say, but understand if you do work with me, this is something that I'm gonna let you know. It's like you want to make sure that you're getting everything beneficial to you when it comes to your loan, and understanding that, hey, did I get the best rate? Am I putting money down where money needs to be put down at? Even when it comes to the appraisal fee, some of the upfront costs you may not be able to afford all overall. You may have enough, and maybe you can't afford the appraisal upfront. Now we can talk to lenders and see if they can help you with that process. Again, we want to have as much money up front as possible, but again, we don't want it to stop us from moving forward. Buying a home is very, very expensive process, but there are things that we can do to help you out within that transition from moving out of an apartment or out of your parents' home, into a brand new home or into a resale home. whatever, right? Now, finding the right realtor. We just talked about it. Make sure you're interviewing realtors, man. And that's me included. Interview me. I've lost clients. I've been interviewed by clients and they didn't like something that I said or how I conducted myself, and there's no love lost on it. I want you to interview people, and if the relationship doesn't click, or we don't click, or maybe I said something that you didn't like, I wish you would just please be honest and let me know. Hey, I would love to just correct and see what I'm doing wrong, or maybe I missed the mark somewhere. But overall, this is still a fun experience, exciting experience, but also there's another component of just understanding, do I click well with this realtor as well? So, like I said, I've had great clients. I have clients that, not even clients, but this interview process where it didn't go as, in my way, for me. But it's totally fine as long as you find that realtor that works for you. So remember, what is the purpose of the realtor? The realtor is there to protect you as the buyer or the seller. You can, I'll tell anybody, and I'm being honest, you can do anything yourself. You want to sell your home, do it yourself. If you want to buy a home, do it yourself. But you don't know what you don't know. And that's the thing when you work with realtors. Realtors have to study this, train this, continuously train it. And one of the great things I can say about myself is that we get a lot of training at the Williams Advanced Realty team. We get a lot of, I just left training today, literally. So training is ongoing, almost week. Well, I wouldn't even say almost, it's weekly. And I pride myself in going to as many trainings as I possibly can with my broker. So when you're looking at buying things yourself or saying, maybe I could do this myself, or ChatGPT can do this, understand this, there's a lot of moving components and pieces to this that you maybe not be doing yourself a good service if you decide you want to take on this by yourself. Understand negotiations matter. We just talked about earnest money and option money. Being able to negotiate that in the right way and explain that in the right way with the right language matters. Understanding that, hey, something new on the market versus something that's been on the market for 30, 60 days, that matters. All that, you got to understand all that takes a part when it comes to negotiations. That's big. Contracts matter as well. Understand that there's a lot of components when it comes to these contracts, and this is what your realtor is doing behind the scenes. I say this multiple times, but for me personally, I didn't think realtors did anything. I really didn't. But now I understand, like, they have to understand negotiations. They have to understand this contract. They have to make sure they understand how to protect me and how to maximize it. And again, these are the things that I pride myself on when I'm with my buyers or with my sellers. I just want to make sure that I have every necessary tool to make sure I can make sure that my client has a successful transaction. Some of the things that I want to talk about is now, from finding that realtor, now we're going into home searches, right? This is the fun, exciting part. And I love looking at homes. I love looking at homes all day, every day. I don't care what they look like. I love it. I love the process. I love when we find the right one, and you can tell, man, it lights them up. They talk about it, and you just know. You know what I'm saying? It's like the one. Like, you can see when someone falls in love in person. It's, man, there's no better feeling, man. No better feeling. I help with that process, right? So some of the things we want to understand during the home search, right? Do we want to buy a new build versus a resale? What's the benefits of both? Again, this is something a realtor can explain to you, and then now you have an educated, you got enough education for yourself to kind of make that decision. Okay, what's the difference between the east side versus the west side versus the northeast side? And not necessarily like anything about crime or anything about the economics of it, just more of understanding, the benefits of living in a particular area versus the other one. Hey, this side is more built up. I'm just being honest with you. It has X, Y, and Z amenities around. It's closer to your job. If this is the reason why, like, there's little nuances that are on any side of El Paso, as we know, man. So El Paso's still growing. Things are changing, but compared to some sort of part of towns, it may be harder to get in and out quickly compared to another side of town. Like, what matters to you is really going to help dictate what side of town may be beneficial to you. But at the end of the day, no matter if it's the east, west, north, central, it doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. You know, at no point in time do we condone any sort of trying to put people over here or put them over there. No, it's just what's best for you, and let's see if this makes sense for you, right? Now, Fort Bliss Act, of course, Fort Bliss access from a military soldier, that has to matter, right? When you purchase your home, because you got to get on post quickly, you know, in case that sergeant, that NCO calls you up in the middle of the night and say, hey, I need you on base, or if you're a young lieutenant, same thing, you're getting calls about a soldier that did X, Y, and Z, and y'all got to write reports up. And I've had all that while I was in. And even when you sneak off, I know some of y'all sneak off and do whatever, but you still want to make it back quickly just in case you get called back to action. So that's a huge component. And then, of course, my civilians, just commute time. Those are all big components we have to think about when we're purchasing our home. And these are the things that I sit down when I'm doing my buyer's representation presentation. This is what we're talking about. We're trying to get a whole picture of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, what makes the most sense, and then help you think about things that you didn't know in the moment, right? So I don't want to go too long, but these are some of the biggest things for me, man. Now, if you're looking to buy, sell, or again, we're going back to your first time home buyers. If you're nervous, scared, don't know where to go, don't know where to start, hey, start by just picking up the phone and calling your local realtor. And you know, one of the great things about Texas, and it's across the country right now, you know, everyone's doing what's called a buyer's representation agreement. But it's really a presentation. It's me basically sitting down with you, having a one-on-one interview. You're interviewing me, I'm interviewing you to see if everything clicks right. But essentially, it's going to give you a game plan on what you need to be doing. This is the time where that particular realtor is going to educate you, talk to you, understand your goals, understand what you're trying to accomplish in one setting. It typically takes about 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. If the conversation is going great, maybe 2 hours. But if you're going in there not knowing anything, I promise you, when you leave and step away from that appointment, you're going to understand so much more. Even if you don't move forward with that realtor, you're going to know so much more moving forward with the whole home buying process if you decide you're going to wait a little longer. But it helps. And that's the first step you have to do, is pick up the phone. Again, I'm always available. You see my number scrolling on the bottom. My QR code at the very top. You can find me on my website, find all my social media handles. Again, I love what I do. I love everything. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, definitely hit me up. Lastly, I want to let you guys know the deadline passed already for property tax protesting, you know, requesting that protest. However, if you were able to put it in before the deadline of May 15th, most likely you're going to have your hearing in June. And I am available. If you need me to do a CMA, comparable market analysis, please let me know. I personally protested my taxes this year, and for my single family home, I was able to save $50,000 on a home that I didn't protest every single year, you know, and not having the proper tools, not having the right education, not understanding how to formulate my argument made it a problem, because I didn't know how to overcome that objection when they would say that to me. But now, you know, like I said, this year I was able to pinpoint what exactly I needed to say, how I needed to say it. Again, the language means everything. I was able to save $50,000 on my assessed value of my home. And then on my duplex, I was able to save around $15,000. And this one was a little different because it was a brand new property in Central around other homes that were built around 1930, 1940, which, you know, that was a tough one. But I was able to, articulate myself enough where the panel understood where I was coming from. You know, one of the big things out here in El Paso is affordable housing. And that's one of the pieces I used when it came to the justification of why I believe my my overall assessment has to come down, because I don't want to have to pass on that burden to my tenants when I'm keeping rents low for a reason. I'm an advocate of low affordable housing, and it's necessary in any community. So we have to work together, and that's why I say, man, don't jump down on the Central Appraisal District and saying that they're doing the wrong thing, or you don't understand it. Like I read the reviews, but there is a process to it. If you understand the process, it's easy to understand how to move forward at that point, as well as they're not collecting anything. All they're doing is giving the assessment of the properties. They're what they believe the homes are worth. They don't set the tax rate. It's the city. It's those components that are on your property tax bill. I'm going to do a training hopefully tomorrow, do some sort of webinar just to continue to show you guys over and over and over of exactly how this thing is broken down. Show you those different entities that are added to your property taxes, so you understand the process. Again, the Central Appraisal District's not doing anything at the end of the day, but they are a necessary evil to it, because who do they get paid by? These entities, So we have to understand that part as citizens, as homeowners, all that good stuff. Lastly, I want to leave you guys with some of the news that I've been keeping up with. It's simply, if you're not already up to date, please get up to date when it comes to the deck plaza. This deck park that's going to be put in place that people are thinking about moving forward with. Do some research on that. That's one of the big projects going on. And there's another project that's coming up that they're looking at. Some of the stuff there's one amphitheater coming out in the Northeast. Here's a couple more. I'm gonna try to figure out some more just to keep you guys updated. And then as well, some of the issues that's going on, of course, is the data centers. If you've been following me for a while, I've been talking about the data centers for a while as well. And I've spoken in on the record about this. So get involved, understand what's going on within the city, within the community. And, whether you're for or against anything, of course, you still speak your mind about it. I don't think that's something that's necessary throughout, regardless. I'm a free thinker. I promise you that. So whether I'm for or against something, I can put my thought process and I study a little bit on it. I research what I need to research, and from the information I've gathered, this is the way I think moving forward about it. So I don't go off of one side or the other side. I don't go off of someone else telling me something. I simply try to listen and gather as much information as possible. And then once I feel comfortable enough to talk about it, that's what we're doing. But anyway, this is Mike Clark with the Keys of Knowledge team, powered by the Williams Advanced Realty team, the WAR team, one of the top teams out here in El Paso, in my opinion. But I'm a little biased, right? Doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you need any help, if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell, or they just need help in their situation, please let me know. I go to the foreclosures almost every month, and it's sad to see people losing their homes, and just over little to no information about what they can and can't do. So please reach out to me. Let me know. I love to help. I love to be a resource. And if there's something I don't know, I promise you I'll be able to connect you with somebody who does know. All right. Until next time. Peace.